Despite all the recent struggles of the MCU, Kevin Feige and Marvel Studios are playing 4D chess while Sony is barely competent at checkers. Hey everybody, my name is Eric Hopkins, aka JEL, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Madam Web is now currently in theaters, the latest installment from Sony's Marvel brand, the SPUMC, or the Sony Pictures Universe of Marvel Characters, the Spunk universe, as it were. Yeah, look, we got to have a serious talk here, Sony. Seriously, I mean, come on. This is going to be non-spoiler, but I am going to get into a few details of this movie, obviously, without ruining too much. But this movie is atrocious. Obviously, I'm a big Marvel fan, but there comes a point where Sony is doing detriment to the brand of Marvel by releasing these movies. Morbius was not good. I don't know if this movie is worse than that, but it's somewhere in the ballpark of Morbius. Yeah, this. There are literally parts in this movie where the ADR is so bad that for those of you who don't know what ADR is, it's where they film a scene on set with certain dialogue, and then they go into the recording studio later on and redub those lines in the studio and to kind of to voice over what was said on set to kind of make it sound better on the film. And of course, but when you got certain lines that's said on set, and then there's other lines said in audio in the recording studio, and you don't bother to go back and reshoot the scenes on set, there are certain times in this movie where that happens, and it's like watching an old Flintstones cartoon where the mouth don't match the words that are coming out of it, and it's like, what is happening? There's some weird cuts from the camera to where like a person's like going to enter something like a car or something, and then all of a sudden they're already in the car. It's like, I don't understand what was happening with this film. It's just I don't know, man. It comes to a point to where I already had issues with Sony and the Marvel brand that they're doing over there, that they didn't have a direction of where they were heading. All right, because like obviously the Spider-Verse animated films are outstanding. They're great. They're, Phil Lord and Christopher Miller are doing an outstanding job with their creative team over there. That's golden. Sony's doing great over there. And Venom is at least very serviceable in my opinion. I think they're very fun, entertaining films, and I'm very much looking forward to Venom 3 and seeing where they wrap that story up. But as of right now, Morbius, what they're doing on their own with Morbius, Madam Web is another example, and now Craven the Hunter is the next one I'm very nervous about at this point, and I'm not really even looking forward to Craven the Hunter because of all this. Sony just feels like they want to put out Marvel films without actually connecting them in any certain way. It almost feels like they're under contract because they own the Spider-Man properties, that they're just making films so they don't have to revert the rights back to Marvel, and they're not putting any effort into them. It doesn't feel like. When Marvel, on the other hand, Marvel Studios rather, when they get an opportunity to use Spider-Man characters like Tom Holland's Spider-Man, they put forth all sorts of effort and they make it work, and it's usually an outstanding film. And we combine that with the fact that Sony apparently wants to have Spider-Man 4, the next Tom Holland outing, be another big, gigantic multiverse movie like, Spider-Man No Way Home was, where they brought in Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. But you can't just jump straight to that. It's like, they want to have the climax because it makes them the most money, but they don't want to take the time to actually build up to that climax. Like Marvel Studios is apparently wants Spider-Man 4 to be a more grounded, street level Spider-Man film, just like we left off Tom Holland's Spider-Man at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home. He was ready to become his own man, out on his own, and just be in the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man that we all have grown and love. And it's like the whole trilogy kind of became, Tom Holland's origin story, and now we're ready to see him interact with possibly characters like Daredevil, or other street level characters that they could integrate into the MCU right at this point. But Sony wants to go big and bombastic with it because it makes money. They're not seeing the long term goals here, and it's like with Madam Web and Morbius, they're not going anywhere with it. It's just there. And it's like it's just frustrating as a Marvel fan. And to be honest, Kevin Feige, as I said at the beginning of this video, is clearly playing 4D chess, and Sony can barely play checkers. Because I mean, this week alone, Kevin Feige has released the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer. He's also released the cast and the poster or the Valentine's card for the Fantastic Four. And of course, he's released the trailer and poster for X-Men 97. It's almost like Kevin Feige knew that Madam Web was coming out this weekend and decided, you know what? Let's get ahead of this thing and try to put out some good Marvel news so that, the market's not saturated with this horrible turd of a film that is Madam Web. It's like, the images we see on the screen here, these look great with the Spider Woman costumes and things like that, but they're in the film maybe a total of a minute. I mean, it's like it's I get it. They're trying to tell us the origin story kind of to where this is going, and you could tell more with these characters in the future if you wanted to, maybe if it were, worded a sequel, which this doesn't. But, you could do that, but this is what we wanted to see in this movie. It's kinda like what their plans are for Kraven. I've heard Kraven the Hunter is going to basically lead up to him being Kraven, but the whole movie itself is not Kraven the Hunter. It's like, what are we doing? It's like, I don't understand where what Sony is, doing here. It just doesn't make much sense to me. But you know what? At the end of the day, I think it's come to a point that Sony, I know they wanna have the rights to the Spider-Man characters, but they need to make a deal with Marvel Studios to sell the rights to Spider-Man back to the MCU and Disney and Kevin Feige. Look, I understand sometimes, everything being under one umbrella with Disney is not always a great thing. I thought the X-Men movies under Fox were great for the most part. There were some that weren't, like, Wolverine Origins, but Sony has got to the point where they're becoming a detriment to the brand, and it's only hurting Marvel as a whole. And I honestly think that the best thing that Sony could do is sell the rights back to Marvel. I'm actually demanding it here on the channel at this point, because I think that, if they were to give the rights to Marvel and just to take a cut of the earnings that all the Spider-Man characters earn, somehow work that out in a contract to where every Marvel Spider-Man film or franchise with the characters involved are made by the MCU, then if Sony gets a cut of that, Sony will actually probably make more money than they would be by making these movies like Madam Web and Morbius. It just doesn't make any sense to me to continue down this route. I'm officially frustrated as a Spider-Man fan. I love Spider-Man. I think he's one of the best characters in Marvel, and to just see him being treated like this and his characters, we're getting, you know, movies for villains like Venom, Morbius, and all these characters that mean more to the Spider-Man mythos because of their relationships to Spider-Man, and we're getting movies that have no Spider-Man in them, and it's like the whole dynamic of the relationship with a Spider-Man is what makes them important and what makes them interesting. And I'm just sick and tired of watching it at this point. Like I said, I'm interested to see how they wrap up the Venom stuff. But even that, rumors are abound that Spider-Man may finally make an appearance in that. I'll believe it when I see it at this point. But hopefully they can integrate Venom in the MCU because obviously we have a symbiote now that's been dropped off in the MCU at the end of Spider-Man No Way Home. So maybe that'll be better then. But I'm hoping that after Beyond the Spider-Verse, the animated film that Sony's doing, like I said, they're doing great work with the animated stuff there with Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. After that's done and Venom 3 is done, I just want to see Sony give those rights back to Marvel. And I hope they will do that for the betterment of the brand because at this point it's starting to get embarrassing. But what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments below. Did you guys go see Madam Web? If you did, I'm sorry. Please let me know what you guys think in the comments. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. And until my next video, guys, God bless and take care.